Tansei, I'm Kristen Achkate. Welcome to APTN National News Daytime on this Tuesday. Prime Minister Mark Carney is meeting with coastal First Nations leaders in Prince Rupert, BC today to discuss his government's major projects agenda and marine conservation. Natural Resources Minister Tim Hodgson and Housing and Infrastructure Minister Gregor Robertson will also be in attendance. The meeting comes after Coastal First Nations President Marilyn Slatt said there is no support for that proposed pipeline from Alberta to BC's west coast or a suspension of the oil tanker moratorium. Here's what the Prime Minister had to say about today's meeting.
Today is really about a dialogue. It's a dialogue of what's been happening in the region, the projects that have been led by the various First Nations here, the various opportunities that do exist, the imperative of conservation, how we have been doing on conservation. I mean, this immense, precious natural heritage, which is a huge responsibility for all of us, but is core to the identity of the First Nations here.
And that meeting with the Prime Minister is expected sometime this afternoon. We'll have an update for you in the evening newscast. The body of a man who went missing after his truck fell through the ice in December was recovered over the weekend. However, the search for the passenger is still ongoing and is dependent on weather and water conditions. According to RCMP, in the early morning hours of December 16th, 31-year-old Corbin Constant of the Mississippiwistic Cree Nation and 23-year-old Tasha Ferlin drove onto Cedar Lake in northwestern Manitoba. Their truck fell through the ice about 75 meters from shore near the Grand Rapids Hydro Dam. RCMP say the truck was found on December 18th, but Constant and Ferlin were not in it. Constant's body was recovered last Saturday. The search for Ferlin continues. Searchers include the Grand Rapids Fire Department, the RCMP, the Hatarian Emergency Aquatic Response Team, or HART, the Prince Albert Grand Council, and the Underwater Search Team from Oak Bluff, Manitoba. In a statement, Prince Albert Grand Council Grand Chief Brian Hardlott said, "Our hearts are with the families and loved ones during this incredibly difficult time. We hold the families in our thoughts and prayers and are grateful to everyone who continues to offer support. With compassion and respect, PAGC stands alongside the Grand Rapids community as they grieve and support one another." The search team says they will keep searching until Ferlin is found. Police and health officials in Saskatchewan are investigating after a First Nations man died after an altercation in a Saskatoon hospital with a security guard in a patient room. Family and friends say he would never hurt anyone, and the family is looking for answers to his death. APTN video journalist Rachel May attended Monday's press conference held by the Saskatoon Tribal Council and the family.
All I'm asking for is some answers. And changes. Like, we need to help our people. This can't be happening.
Trevor Dubois' mother, Val, says he went to Saskatoon's Royal University Hospital on Monday, January 5th, for chemotherapy related to a brain tumor he had been diagnosed with about 3 months earlier. Just after 7 a.m. on Friday, January 9th, the family received a call that Trevor had died, but not as a result of his cancer. An altercation had occurred between Dubois and an unnamed hospital security guard. Val says when the family arrived at the hospital after being notified of his death, they left without answers and continue to have been left in the dark about what happened.
Eventually, hours later, they did let me see my boy before they took him away. But I just want answers. How did this happen? We left the hospital 8 p.m. Thursday night. I get a phone call 7 a.m. Friday morning.
In a statement issued from Saskatoon Police about an hour before today's press conference on Trevor's death, police say they received a call regarding his death and immediately began investigating the circumstances, saying further investigation determined hospital security officers entered a patient's room after it was reported a firearm was seen inside. When security attempted to restrain the male, a physical altercation took place. During the interaction, investigation, the male became unresponsive and was later pronounced deceased. Police went on to say they located an imitation firearm, methamphetamine, and drug paraphernalia. The family says the only item they can think of that may have been considered an imitation firearm was a bright pink and yellow lighter that also held cigarettes. They say the lighter required the slide to be pulled back to access the cigarettes, and a flame would appear when the trigger was pulled. Trevor's brother Ryan Dubois says the timing of the police release, issued just prior to a news conference meant to discuss Trevor's legacy and seek answers, was an attempt by police to shift the narrative surrounding his death.
This information was released prior to this news conference just to throw us off or to try and take my brother's character away. I want everyone in this room or everyone watching to just know what kind of a person he truly was.
Ryan wants his brother remembered as a kind, loving family member and an advocate for all, driven to learn and grow. The family says during Trevor's 4 days in hospital, they were never told he was acting out or being violent. They recall laughing and joking with him the last time they spoke. Ryan says the family is determined to get answers and wants changes within the health authority so this never happens again.
There's other things that could have been in place. There's other safeguards that could have been set up prior or even now after. Accepting responsibility, saying, hey, maybe the security guard wasn't trained properly. Maybe the situation got out of hand, but we are responsible. We're sorry for it.
The Saskatchewan Health Authority issued a statement shortly after Trevor's death, saying the Saskatchewan Health Authority, SHA, is committed to accountability and to ensure a safe care environment for patients, visitors, and staff. The SHA takes this incident extremely seriously, and we extend our sincere condolences to the patient's family and loved ones. In a statement issued following the press conference, the Saskatchewan Health Authority confirmed the security guard involved in the altercation has been suspended pending the outcome of an incident review and a related labor relations investigation. The SHA says it is unable to provide additional information at this time, but will share updates when appropriate. Rachel May, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
In Woodstock, New Brunswick, an RCMP officer is on trial at the Court of King's Bench. Corporal Andrew Whiteway is charged with assaulting a Mi'kmaq woman in June of 2024. APTN video journalist Angel Moore was in court and brings us the latest.
I'm here outside the Woodstock courthouse. It was an emotional day for Christina Gillis, who was called as the first witness. Gillis testified that on June 13, 2024, at her home near Richmond Corner, New Brunswick, she had called 911 for help because her daughter was in distress and fled to the woods. After police detained her daughter, Gillis testified police were disrespectful, and she confronted Corporal Andrew Whiteway to de-escalate the situation. Gillis testified Whiteway threw her to the ground and allegedly punched her in the face about 6 times and sustained broken facial bones and cracked teeth. Whiteway pleaded not guilty to aggravated assault for allegedly striking Gillis. Whiteway's lawyer, T.J. Burke, cross-examined Gillis and questioned when her injuries occurred. Burke told the court medical records that night showed there were no fractured bones. But when Gillis went for treatment 5 days later and received a CT scan, it revealed facial fractures. The trial continues on Tuesday. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Woodstock, New Brunswick.
Another First Nation in Alberta is threatening legal action against the province's separation referendum, adding that their treaties are sacred, their consent matters, and their rights are non-negotiable. The Blood Tribe near Lethbridge says they are opposed to Alberta's separation from Canada because it weakens treaty rights. Last July, Alberta's chief electoral officer approved a referendum question from the Alberta Prosperity Project. It asks, do you agree that the province of Alberta shall become a sovereign country and cease to be a province in Canada? The Blood Tribe is asking the Court of King's Bench if the question contravenes Canada's 1982 Constitution Act. The First Nation says Justice Colin Feasby did agree that the question did in fact contravene the Constitution, and Alberta cannot move forward without consent of First Nations. Meanwhile, signatures continue to be collected in support of separation. That legal action follows another First Nation that is pursuing legal action against the Alberta government. The Athabasca Chipewyan First Nation is calling for a judicial review of the Chief Electoral Officer of Alberta regarding an approved petition they say is stirring up separatism talks in the province. The First Nation says the province's petition disregards the country's treaty relationship, does not honor the Crown's obligations, and is moving forward on separatism talks without First Nation engagement or consultation. The First Nation names the electoral officer Gordon McClure, King Charles III, and Mitch Sylvester, the person who is supporting the referendum. It is the second legal action issued in a week from a First Nation in Alberta. The suit has yet to be tested in court. Lacrosse will come back to the Olympics in 2028 in Los Angeles, but what does that mean for all of the Indigenous lacrosse players who want to compete? That story after the break. Welcome back. After 120 years, lacrosse will be back at the Olympic Games being held in Los Angeles in 2028. However, a potential roadblock set up by the International Olympic Committee may prevent First Nations from playing on the world stage in the game they originated. APTN's Rose Jacobs explains.
Wonderful pass. Give you a little toss. Yeah. Wonderful.
For the Haudenosaunee, lacrosse goes way beyond being just a game. Instead, it is deeply rooted in their culture, history, and identity.
I've been playing since I was, 3 years old, so I've been playing for a long time. And for us, when we're born as young boys, we get a cradle or a stick in our cradle. Sorry, a nice wooden stick.
Everybody like this, hand down.
The game is known as the medicine or creator's game and was gifted to the Haudenosaunee by the creator to be traditionally played with a wooden stick.
It has some magic. I like to call it magic, but it has an essence in it that helps the stick. That it takes the energy from your feet, from the earth, Mother Earth, passes it through your hands into the stick and into the ball, and it's the medicine ball. So that ball goes to somebody at the end of the game. Without that stick, you can't transfer that energy.
Many First Nations have their own connections to lacrosse. But for the Haudenosaunee, the game is used for healing and to spread good medicine.
In essence, it's a stick ball game, but for me as a Haudenosaunee Cayuga Nation member, it's a medicine game. It's a medicine game, and when I look at the ball, I look at the ball that we play with. There's medicine in that ball. There's medicine in the stick. There's medicine in our spirit. And so I want them to understand, like I say, that it has a totally different connotation.
The Haudenosaunee sent a lacrosse team to the 1904 Olympics, winning a bronze medal. But as one of the two teams Canada sent, lacrosse will return to the Olympics in 2028, having been absent since 1908. And the Haudenosaunee want to be there, but as their own team. First Nations people originated the game. But after colonization, the game was rewritten by non-Indigenous people. And in the late 1800s, First Nations were banned from even competing or playing with non-Indigenous people. Their appearance in the 1904 Olympics was an exception.
It always seems to be like in a little battle or a little challenge for us to kind of regain this sense of ownership relative to the game. And because right now, the way it's played, like, we don't make the rules. We don't set the rules, even though it's our game.
The Iroquois Lacrosse Arena in Six Nations is home to some of the world's most elite players, many of which hope to make it to the world stage in 2028. Like the first captain of the women's box team, Fawn Porter.
We've always kind of been in the history books, hiding in between the lines, but to be at the world stage and just be recognized and have our own voice for that, that's all we want.
There are some Olympic-sized hoops that need to be jumped through to get to that world stage. The International Olympic Committee does not recognize the Haudenosaunee as a sovereign nation with their own National Olympic Committee, meaning they may not be playing under their own flag at the Olympics unless they receive an exemption.
I would love to see them embrace us and invite us and include us into the we'll say, these monumental mega event that everybody knows and plays on the world stage, and I think that would just instill a whole bunch of, well, I'll say, renewed hope, sense of pride, identity into our young people.
The men and women lacrosse teams have already played internationally under the Haudenosaunee Nationals name. The men's team have competed as a sovereign nation since the 1990s, and a women's team since 2005. The Haudenosaunee Nationals travel all over the world, like this past August at the World Lacrosse Men's U20 Championships in South Korea.
Bronze medals and silver medals, you know, playing against all these other countries. I think it speaks for itself what we've done on the world stage as far as, you know, competing goes. So I think we definitely have a right to be in there. But yeah, as far as it goes by player, I think that's more of it's not individual because it is the organization, and the organization has proven itself to be at least top 3 teams in the world.
Porter remains optimistic that her team will make it to the LA Games.
We are going to be recognized, and we're going to use the sport for good, and like use it to help the communities, and also just be there with the world stage. You know what I mean? Like, we're not coming with malicious intent or anything like that. We just want a seat at the table.
According to a CBC report, the Haudenosaunee Nationals organization have had informal conversations with the IOC, and they hope to eventually meet with the IOC's president in the new year to find a solution. The Haudenosaunee say, above anything else, they want to be acknowledged and involved.
It's important because that just tells the world that we have a seat at the table, and the world will recognize us as our own sovereign nation, our own sovereign people. Like, there's Canada and the United States, but everyone hears of the Haudenosaunee, but there's no full recognition of us yet, and that needs to be done because it's just one step closer to either reconciliation or just recognizing people.
Without representation of his people, wooden lacrosse stick maker Daniel Henhock says he will be reluctant to watch the 2028 games.
I probably won't watch if they don't play. Like, there's nobody representing me and my people there, our nation, our game. Right? There's no point in really watching after that. I would love to see our guys play, especially on our team.
Regardless of the Olympic outcome, Randy Stats will continue his lifelong passion for lacrosse.
That's supposed to carry on with you until you pass away, and then when you pass away, you get a wooden stick that's buried with you. So the game is always with you, and it's in our blood.
APTN News reached out to the IOC for comment. It replied in an email statement that only National Olympic Committees can enter teams for competition. Without an NOC, it is up to Canada or the USA to include Haudenosaunee players on their national teams. Rose Jacobs, APTN National News, Ottawa.
Hi, thank you, Rose. We now want to tell you about this week's new web poll question. Over on our website, we ask, should the military be used more often to help Indigenous communities that are in distress? You can answer yes, no, or unsure. Go to our website at aptnnews.ca to have your say. The question will be on the right-hand side of the homepage. A centre that has been helping the Indigenous community in Regina is beginning the construction of its new facility. That story after the break. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Halifax partly cloudy and 2, Charlottetown 0. Cartwright -7 and sunny, La Grande River -20. Saguenay -6, Quebec City rain and -1. Toronto +2, North Bay -1. Sudbury -1, Thunder Bay -1. -17 in Norway House, Churchill -23 and sunny. Gimli -9, Winnipeg +1. 1 in Saskatoon, Regina, sunny and 0. Buffalo Narrows -2, Stony Rapids -26 and sun's out there. Fort McMurray 3, Fort Chipewyan 4. Lethbridge 10, Red Deer 3. Vancouver 7 and cloudy, Bella Coola 0. Prince Rupert 7, Fort Nelson 7. Old Crow -30, Whitehorse 2. minus 21 in Wrigley, Trout Lake 5 in rain, minus 37 in Sax Harbor, Polituck minus 28, minus 19 in Baker Lake, Chesterfield minus 19, and Arctic Bay minus 23, Aglulik minus 21 and sun's out. Construction is underway on a new outreach center for the All Nations Hope Network in north central Regina. And as CTV's Damian Smith tells us, the facility will provide the organization with more space and more opportunity to help those in need.
This is for our ancestors and our future generations.
Shovels dig into north central soil, starting the construction of a new 30,000 square foot building for the All Nations Hope Network.
People who live in First Nation communities, they have access to their elders, they have access to their ceremony and to those lodges. And so it's important for places like All Nations Hope Network to make sure that we have that sustainability for the people who walk amongst these streets.
With 3 other locations around the city, the network says it's been running out of capacity for patients in the last half-decade.
We outgrew the space and we outgrew the outreach center. You know, the more need there was, the more need for more space.
And then once COVID hit, those numbers like tripled. We went from 50 to 70 people per day, probably to about 300 to 350 people per day.
Near the corner of 5th Ave and Albert Street, the 2-story building will have ceremony rooms on the 2nd level, while the main floor will have a warming shelter, a doctor's office, and commercial kitchen. It will also have a pharmacy with Western and Indigenous medicine.
So want to have a traditional pharmacy where we provide those natural herbs and those teas and those remedies, the medicine that we combine together that are supposed to be in our diet, our traditional diet.
For the construction of the building, $13 million was funded from Indigenous Services Canada, and Indigenous Collaborative Housing funded the $13 million project.
All Nations have some very deep-rooted funding partnerships throughout their years of operation. So these funders have really assisted. So we are confident that we will get the funding to finish the building.
The end of the project is expected to take about 2 years until the building can be fully open. Damian Smith, CTV News, Regina.
Filmmaker, artist, singer, storyteller, and Abenaki activist Alanis Obomsawin is our guest on an all-new Face-to-Face today, and it will be in French with our Nouvelle Nationale host Kim Sullivan. For more than 60 films made with the National Film Board of Canada and a significant body of visual works, she has shaped the nation's conscience. And at 93 and still going to the office weekly, Alanis Obomsawin shares the key of documentary filmmaking. Here's a preview.
Quand je donne des cours et puis que j'aide les jeunes, je leur dis, es-tu capable d'écouter? Peux-tu vraiment écouter ou est-ce que tu vas dire à la personne qui ils sont? Le vrai documentaire, c'est qu'il faut savoir entendre. Et ça, pour moi, c'est la première loi dans ce qu'on fait qui est importante.
Definitely check that out later today. And that's your daytime newscast for this Tuesday, January 13th. Savannah Kelly is back for your evening newscast in a few hours. Please join us then. From our HQ in downtown Winnipeg, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again. Excellent.